You mentioned to me the book The Maniac by Benjamin Lebatut, a book on, first of all, about you. There's a bio about you. It's
Strange, yeah.
it's unclear. Yes, sure. It's unclear how much is fiction, how much is reality. But I think the central figure that is John von Neumann. I would say it's a haunting and beautiful exploration of madness and genius, and let's say the double-edged sword of discovery. And for people who don't know, John von Neumann is a kind of legendary mind. He contributed to quantum mechanics. He was on the Manhattan Project. He is widely considered to be the father of, or pioneered the modern computer and AI and so on. So many people say he's like one of the smartest humans ever. So it's just fascinating. And what's also fascinating as a person who saw nuclear science and physics become the atomic bomb. So you got to see ideas become a thing that has a huge amount of impact on the world. He also foresaw the same thing for computing.
Yeah.
And that's a little bit, again, beautiful and haunting aspect of the book. Then taking a leap forward and looking at this, at least at all AlphaZero, AlphaGo, AlphaZero big moment that maybe John von Neumann's thinking was brought to reality. So I guess the question is, what do you think if you got to hang out with John von Neumann now? What would he say about what's going
Well,
on?
that would be an amazing experience. He's a fantastic mind, and I also love where he spent a lot of his time at Princeton at the Institute of Advanced Studies. It's a very special place for thinking, and it's amazing how much of a polymath he was in the spread of things he helped invent, including, of course, the von Neumann architecture that all the modern computers are based on, and he had amazing foresight. I think he would have loved where we are today, and he would have I think he would have really enjoyed AlphaGo
Yeah.
being game he also
Yes.
did game theory. I think he foresaw a lot of what would happen with learning machine systems that are kind of grown, I think he called it, rather than programmed. I'm not sure how, even maybe he wouldn't even be that surprised. There's the fruition of what I think he already foresaw in the 1950s.
I wonder what advice he would give. He got to see
Mm,
the building of the atomic bomb with the Manhattan Project.
yeah.
I'm sure there's interesting stuff that maybe is not talked about enough. Maybe some bureaucratic aspect, maybe the influence of politicians, maybe not enough of picking up the phone and talking to people that are called enemies
Mm.
by the said politicians. There might be some like deep wisdom that we just may have lost from that time, actually.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure there is. I mean, we studied. I read a lot of books for that time as well, chronicled time, and some brilliant people involved. But I agree with you. I think maybe there needs to be more dialogue and understanding. I hope we can learn from those times. I think the difference here is that the AI has so many. It's a multi-use technology. Obviously, we're trying to do things like that, like solve all diseases, help with energy and scarcity, these incredible things. This is why all of us and myself, I started on this journey 30 plus years ago. And, but of course, there are risks too. And probably von Neumann, my guess is he foresaw both. And I think he sort of said, I think is to his wife that it would be computers would be even more impactful in the world. And as we just discussed, I think that's right. I think it's going to be 10 times at least of the Industrial Revolution. So I think he's right. So I think he would have been, I imagine, fascinated by where we are now.
And I think maybe you can correct me, but one of the takeaways from the book is that reason, as said in the book, Mad Dreams of Reason, is not enough for guiding humanity as we build these super powerful technology, that there's something else. I mean, there's also like a religious component.
Hmm.
Whatever God, whatever religion gives, it pulls at something in the human spirit that raw, cold reason doesn't give us.
And I agree with that. I think we need to approach it with whatever you want to call it, a spiritual dimension or humanist dimension. It doesn't have to be to do with religion, right? But this idea of a soul, what makes us human, this spark that we have, perhaps it's to do with consciousness when we finally understand that. I think that has to be at the heart of the endeavor.
Mhm.
And technology, I've always seen technology as the enabler, right? The tools that enable us to flourish and to understand more about the world. And I'm sort of with Feynman on this, and he used to always talk about science and art being companions, right? You can understand it from both sides, the beauty of a flower, how beautiful it is, and also understand why the colors of the flower evolved like that, right? That just makes it more beautiful, the just the intrinsic beauty of the flower. And I've always sort of seen it like that. And maybe, in the Renaissance times, the great discoverers then, like people like Da Vinci, I don't think he saw any difference between science and art, and perhaps religion, right? Everything it's just part of being human and being inspired about the world around us. And that's the philosophy I try to take. And one of my favorite philosophers is Spinoza. And I think he combined that all very well, this idea of trying to understand the universe and understanding our place in it. And that was his kind of way of understanding religion. And I think that's quite beautiful. And for me, all of these things are interrelated, the technology and what it means to be human. And I think it's very important, though, that we remember that as when we're immersed in the technology and the research. I think a lot of researchers that I see in our field are a little bit too narrow and only understand the technology. And I think also that's why it's important for this to be debated by society at large. And I'm very supportive of things like the AI summits that will happen and governments understanding it. And I think that's one good thing about the chatbot era and the product era of AI is that everyday person can actually feel and interact with cutting edge AI and feel it for themselves.
Yeah, because they force the technologists to have the human conversation. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's the hopeful aspect of it. Like you said, it's a dual use technology that we're forcefully integrating the entire of humanity into the discussion about AI.
Hmm.
Because ultimately AGI will be used for things that states use technologies for, which is conflict and so on. And the more we integrate humans into this picture by having chats with them, the more we will guide.
Yeah, be able to adapt. Society will be able to adapt to these technologies, like we've always done in the past with the incredible technologies we've invented in the past.